Hi there, everyone. Welcome to episode 6 of Jess's Writing Clubhouse. I am the aforementioned Jess, and it's actually been a little bit since I've recorded a full episode of the podcast because I had to get everything edited and get it all posted up. So the current date is August 19th of 2022, and I am currently, the projects are a little strange right now. So where do I begin even documenting this part? Okay, let's start with the writing. One, I have book 3 of the Hunter X Slayer series planned out, and I have it outlined. I have scene cards and everything, and it's ready to go. However, I'm not working on it right now because I am currently drafting out the novella that comes in between The Hunter and the Cultist and The Slayer and the Spy. Now, the reason that I'm doing it this way is because I needed both of those books to be done before I could make the branching novella that falls in between them. So, same thing goes with the novella that'll go between The Slayer and the Spy and book 3, which I do have a title for, and we'll have to see how it goes, whether or not it stays that one or if it gets changed. It's tentatively being called The Abandoned One and the Professor, so it's got one extra word in it that I wasn't accounting for. Because normally what I'll do is I'll abbreviate all my books. Like for The Hunter and the Cultist, it was THTC, or The Slayer and the Spy, which was TSTS. This one is TAOTP. It's like, okay, I guess this is where we're going now. But I'm currently on chapter 8 on the novella. It's only going to be 14 chapters. Each chapter is only one scene. It's currently, I think, at like 7,000 words. I'm shooting for like 1,000 words per chapter-ish. I'm not being too strict on it since it's the first draft. But when I finish up this draft, then I'll be moving into editing, and then I can actually start drafting out The Abandoned One and the Professor. So that'll be fun. As far as projects adjacent to those, I am almost done recording the entirety of the audiobook for The Hunter and the Cultist. I only have 2 chapters left. I know I mentioned in a previous episode that I was having one of my good friends record it, but due to circumstances that were beyond their control, they weren't able to do it. So I took on the task back in April, I think it was, April or May, to actually start recording it. And it's been a process because I have very specific accents that I want these characters to have. And for the most part, I can do them. So that doesn't bother me. There are a couple of accents that have been eluding me, such as British or French. The British one is starting to come to me a little bit better, but the French one, I'm so glad that I only have 2 characters that have a French accent, and they only speak a handful of times. So, but thankfully, my other accents have turned out much better. So I only have 2 more chapters left to record, and then I have to batch edit all 26 chapters. So much fun. But it should be much better because unlike these episodes where there's a lot of pauses to take out, a lot of ums, it shouldn't be too difficult. It's just me restating the same line over and over again, or having to re-record something if I don't like how it sounds. So we'll see how that goes. And then as far as other projects I'm working on, I've put a lot of work into what I've been calling a series binder for my Hunter X Slayer series. Because of the fact that this series is so big, I need to be able to keep track of details and world building and stuff. So I started going through The Hunter and the Cultist, marking down details in a proof copy I have, and basically just marking down notes and details that I actually state in the book. And then I put it all into an Excel document. Now, I had to stop doing that so I could focus on some other projects, but I'm hoping to get back into that soon-ish, because then I also have to do the same thing to The Slayer and the Spy, which will help me to get The Abandoned One and the Professor as accurate as possible, because I know that there was a lot of continuity errors between book 1 and book 2 when I was editing book 2. So we'll see how that goes. I also have gotten myself set up on multiple podcasting channels, which you've probably already noticed. And I'm very excited. I'm also very nervous, but we'll see how everything goes. I hope everyone enjoys this podcast and kind of enjoys me just rambling on about nonsense and stuff. The other thing I've been working on a lot is my Fae serial, because it's the one that's going to be put onto Kindle Vella. And the Fae serial, if I haven't mentioned what it is I base it loosely off of like romance paths in video games, where you have a single character that you are in the point of view of, and you have multiple options for romanceable options. So that's kind of how it's being written. But I've been focusing on the world building aspect, and I finally was able to get some basics of the world put down, but now I have to actually go in and start putting in details for the characters and for the love interests. So that's a lot of fun. I've been kind of procrastinating on it, but I'm hoping to get more done as time goes on and projects are finished. So that's basically what I've been working on. My other projects are kind of on the back burner right now because I want to focus on getting shit done. So fun times were had by all. So anyway, now that I've bored you for about 8 minutes of recording time, let's go into what today's topic is going to be about. I wanted to talk about my experience with KDP, which is Kindle Direct Publishing. It's Amazon's publishing platform, and KU, which is Kindle Unlimited, which is their ebook services that you can use in tandem with Kindle Direct Publishing. And then later on, I want to talk about writing to market or a passion project, because it's going to kind of go along with KU specifically. So my experience with Kindle Direct Publishing, now I came in when CreateSpace was just starting to be phased out. CreateSpace was the platform that Amazon used for the longest time for self-publishing people to basically make their covers, build up their book, and then put it out for an ebook copy. I don't think they could do paperback at the time, but I vaguely remember seeing people doing like author copies from CreateSpace. But I came in when KDP was the one that was the main one there, and like CreateSpace was being phased out. So what you do when you decide to become a self-published author, other than checking yourself into a mental institution, no, hard joke. No, when you do want to start publishing, Amazon makes it very easy to get set up on Kindle Direct Publishing. There's some learning curve, if I have to say that, in understanding some of the parts of it, but for the most part, it's pretty easy. There's no fee to get published onto Amazon through KDP. Now, whether or not your book gets seen is a whole other ballgame, but that's not the topic of discussion. But I've put through books now 5 times, and each one is the easiest. I think the hardest decision I had to make was when it came to ISBNs, which is, I don't remember what the acronym means, but it's basically the barcode that's on the back of the books. And what you can do is you can go on to, I think it's called Broker, to purchase ISBNs. And they're pretty expensive to purchase actual ISBN numbers. And you only need them if you're doing paperback or hardcover books. You don't need them if it's an ebook. But I decided that just for my own sake, that it's like you can get a free one from Amazon. And basically what it does is that when you publish it, it marks the publisher as, I think it's like Amazon Publishing Services or Kindle Direct Publishing Services. I don't remember exactly. They keep changing what it actually is called, but basically it just marks it that Amazon is the publisher. Now, in the early days when I first started, I was hearing a lot of people going like, well, it just makes you look a lot more unprofessional and everything. And I'm like, Well, I also don't have a whole lot of money, so I don't have money to buy a new ISBN every time I need a new book. Because every time you come out with a new book or a new edition or a new format, you have to get an ISBN for that specific type. So you have to have an ISBN for your paperback. You have to have an ISBN for your hardcover. If you change your covers, you need to get new ISBNs for all that. So a lot of them will buy them in bulk, which you get a discount. But again, that was not the business for myself. So I decided to just go with the free ISBN that comes with Amazon. And for the most part, I haven't heard anyone complain about it. It might just be my dumbass, but I don't know. It doesn't bother me too much. The one thing that I will say that kind of grinds my gears is that with CreateSpace, when you used to be able to order proof copies, it would come just as a regular proof copy. The cover was the same and everything, whatever you posted. But now, because Kindle Direct Publishing does proof copies, they put this stupid bar across your cover that says proof copy not for resale. And it just mars up the cover and it's really annoying, but small petty problems. If you really want one that's like one that you pay cheaply for, or at least pay just the printing cost of it, you can get an author copy once your book is actually like gone through all of the completed process, which I've done, and it does drop the price down significantly to whatever it costs to print the book. And of course the cost goes higher the longer your book is or the shorter your book is. It does have a cover creator. I don't recommend it personally. My first 3 books, I had a good friend of mine do the covers for, and they were beautiful, but I did have to do a lot of like editing of them to get them to fit the formatting requirements for covers, which by the way is probably one of the biggest reasons to have a cover designer, because they know the standardization measurements and how to get them for Amazon, and it streamlines the process. Because with the first 3 books, I know I spent at least a full day just making minor tweaks to my covers just so they would fit with Amazon's guidelines. And it's very obvious from like my 3rd book that I was so done. So I'm glad that I now have a cover designer that knows this information, and when there is an issue, I can easily just reach out to her and get that fixed. So that was quite helpful. You also put in your manuscript, and it obviously looks for any errors. Most of the time, the errors that it finds for me are their own dictionary not understanding a word that I use frequently. So that's kind of funny. But I use Readsy for my formatting. So it basically formats it into the sizes that I need for my books. So I don't have to do all of the formatting myself. I just input my information into Readsy, and then it exports it into the proper sizing. I did find out when I also started doing hardcover that you can't use the same file for paperback that you do for hardcover. It actually is slightly larger, and it looks funny otherwise if you try to use the paperback formatting for a hardcover book. I have hardcover copies of The Hunter and the Cultist that the formatting is just god-awful. So word to the wise, make sure you match up your sizing to which version you're making. So if you're making a paperback, make sure all the sizes match for your cover and for your document, and then for your hardcover, same thing. When it comes to matching Kindle Direct Publishing with Kindle Unlimited, what you do is that when you are publishing a book, you can choose to do this or not. There is a 90-day period that you would need to stay with Kindle Unlimited, and then you can basically leave. But what Kindle Unlimited is that it allows Amazon to put forth your book for people to rent, and then they can have up to 10 books in their ebook library and read them as much as they want. And then if they want to exchange it for something else, they can do that. And it used to be, before I started, that the author would get paid per page that was read. And that unfortunately caused a lot of people to do some very scammy stuff where they would put like the table of contents at the end of the book, and naturally the Kindle will automatically go to the table of contents, which then would mark the book as completely read, even though it hasn't been completely read. And then I had heard some rumors of people choosing to just copy and paste other people's work. I don't have any confirmation of this, but I was hearing that was one of the main reasons why they changed how Kindle Unlimited is paid. So now it's based on first reading. I think it's still per pages, but now it's like you only get it with the first reading. And it's like, okay, so I get paid per page that's read out of my books. And that's nice. It allows me to get at least some money during the payment cycle, because it's always a 60-day cycle when it comes to payments. So if you have people read your book in January, you won't get paid for January until March. So that's kind of how the payments work. But I did try to move to what's called wide distribution. Basically, when you're doing Kindle Unlimited, you are contractually obligated to only sell your book on Amazon and only distribute it there. It doesn't allow you to distribute it to like Barnes & Noble or any other ebook platform. Now, the paperback, hardcover, or audiobooks, that's a whole other ballgame, but it's specifically the ebook. And I did try draft to digital. I took my book out of Kindle Unlimited for a while, and I started doing draft to digital. But the problem that I found is that instantly I lost those pages that were being read, and because I don't make a whole lot of money right now, it just didn't feel like it was acceptable at the time. So I might revisit it later, but right now my Kindle Unlimited is at least giving me some amount of money. It's not a lot. It's enough to buy like a cheeseburger at McDonald's, but at least it's giving me something. So that's, and I will say draft to digital does make it really easy to get your ebook, paperback. I think they do audiobook. I think I started to look into that, but then I found the prices of audiobooks and I'm like, yo, no. So I decided not to go with that. But I mean, draft to digital is a good way to go if you're going to go wide instead of focusing solely on Amazon. And if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. And that leads me into the next part, which is writing to market or passion project. Now, what writing to market means is that you are basically writing what is popular. So, say Twilight is the big thing, and you write a vampire romance. You're writing to the market. And then, like, a couple months down the line, dystopia or dystopian novels are in. Then you write a quick dystopian novel, still writing to market. Now, that can be good because you're always keeping up with the trends. You know your book is going to sell. I know a lot of people were doing what's called low content books, which is like notebooks, and I don't know if planners count as that, because you actually do have to put some thought into making a planner. But I know notebooks tend to be one that's like marked as like low content. So making anything that is popular. I know for a while, like green drink cookbooks were a big thing. Like everyone was putting out this little itty bitty ebook about like different recipes for green drinks, and because people wanted to get healthy. So the market is constantly fluctuating, so you're always writing something different. The con of that is the double-edged sword of everything's always changing, so you can't always predict what's going to be popular. So you kind of always have to be on the ball when it comes to the new trends, the new thing, the new fad. And if you want to do that, I would highly recommend keeping up to date on Twitter, up to date on TikTok. I've seen a lot of publishing and book-related things on TikTok recently. So possibly keeping up with those will give you some idea of what's popular right now. I think the one that I've been seeing for a while now has just been like spicy books, where there's like a lot of sex and smut, potentially like not a lot of plot, but I don't know. I love spicy books, but I'm a very niche kind of spicy book lover. But that's kind of what you would have to do if you wanted to write to market. Now, the other half of that is a passion project. Basically, passion projects are what you enjoy reading and writing that. Basically, you're not fully, like, I hate to say you don't care what is popular, but you write what you love. And that's kind of the way that I've gone, just FYI. But basically, you're choosing if you love superheroes. And even if all of us are heavily Marvel fatigued, you still want to write a superhero story. So you work on it, you write it, you get it published. And yeah, you might not get that instant boost like you would with writing to market, but you're going to find your audience for what you enjoy because you are catering to a very specific type of person. And that's definitely a pro because, one, there are also people much like you that enjoy this kind of content. Here's a con though. Remember how I said Twilight and dystopian when it came to write to market? If you love Twilight, but Twilight is like just dead and buried and no one is wanting to read those books because it got so big, you might not have so much luck writing vampire books, which is kind of the problem that I found myself in, but because it's a passion, the Hunter X Slayer series is such a passion project for me, I don't care if it's like super popular. It's something that I enjoy writing. And that's kind of where the pros outweigh the cons. But like, I know a lot of people really enjoyed the dystopian genre. And when that started to fall out after like Hunger Games and Maze Runner, I don't know if Maze Runner was super popular, but that's the first one that kind of popped in my head. But when those kind of died down, a lot of authors kind of were left in the dust. So you don't get read as much. But again, you're finding your own niche of people who do enjoy that. I know a lot of people in the dystopian sphere who really enjoy those books. They do just enjoy reading those. It's not just because of Hunger Games, but like a vast majority of what people find popular is what's in the now, which is why writing to market is very much a viable way to write. It's not the way that I chose to do it because I'm not that fast of a writer, so I can't write fast enough to keep up with the market. So that's also why I chose Passion Project. And it's really also based off of how you write in particular, because if you're a fast writer, like I've heard of some people fast drafting an entire book in like 2 weeks and then editing in like a week and then like making the corrections and then publishing it by like the next month. And I'm like, yo, where is your brain made and where can I get one? Because I would love to be able to write quickly, but it's not how my brain works. So you kind of have to work with what you got. So that's kind of my interpretation when it comes to writing to market or passion project. I know when I first started, a lot of people were really hardcore pushing the write to market, or if you were going to do a passion project, you wanted to write out all the books in your passion project, such as like a trilogy. You wanted to write out all 3 books, have them all edited and ready to go, and then publish them within like 3 months of each other. And that's called rapid release. So a lot of people did that, and I completely understand why people do that because it helps keep up momentum. But it starts off with some burnout real quick. But I'm going to talk about burnout in another episode because that one is a very personal kind of issue for me. So I hope you all will join me for that episode. And thank you all for listening, and I will talk to you all in the next one. Thank you. Bye-bye.